All right. And now let's talk about this proposed stimulus package. Senator McConnell saying that now this vote has been pushed back possibly to 6 o'clock. What kind of encouragement or lack thereof are you getting from this process and the hope from this stimulus package?
Well, the package that the Republicans have drawn up does nothing to help struggling workers. You know, our struggling workers need help today, and they need their jobs safeguarded for tomorrow. It has no protections for them. Our first responders need PPE equipment, personal protective equipment, and resources today to our hospitals and our first responders. There's nothing in it for them. And instead it creates a $500 billion slush fund for Steve Mnuchin to, hand out loans to corporations as he please. I mean, do Americans think that this man is going to look out for the well-being of working Americans over the well-being of corporations and corporate CEOs? I certainly don't trust him, not without oversight. And the slush fund that they proposed in their bill, which no Democrat had any chance to put any, requirements into, does not provide any oversights for him. So I'm glad that this vote has been postponed. It needs to be. I urge my Republican colleagues to please allow Democrats to come to the negotiation table, and let's write a bill together that will safeguard Americans, safeguard us in this public health emergency, safeguard us during this economic crisis.
What do you like that is in the proposal? Because reportedly this legislation would include $250 billion, to also help send out the $1,200 checks to many American adults, along with $500 or perhaps even $600 for children. What else in that bill seems plausible or appetizing at all to you?
I think that our Americans need more than one check, for example. I think we need unemployment insurance protections. There's nothing in this bill that they propose that will protect people who can't make their mortgage payments from being evicted and rent payments from being evicted. There's nothing in this bill that protects students from student loan debt. This bill is all skewed towards corporations. It's skewed towards a slush fund that Steve Mnuchin is going to be able to write checks to whoever he wants with no oversight, even to Trump organizations. We need to put working families first. We need to protect Americans and their mortgages, Americans and their rent, and we need to make sure that Americans can get back to work when this whole crisis is over with. And we need to get money and resources to our hospitals right now, and it doesn't have that in there.
How do you convey this then to, your colleagues there on what to include prior to any 6 p.m. scheduled vote?
Well, we told them this yesterday, what we wanted, and we were negotiating with the Republicans up until 8 p.m. last night, at which point Mitch McConnell called all of the Republicans away. They walked away from the negotiating table yesterday when we actually were making some really good progress and we're coming to some agreements, and then they walked away at 8 o'clock last night.
Can you give me an example of what some of those agreements were?
Sure, $200 billion to go to hospitals and first responders, OSHA protections for first responders, people who are on the front lines, unemployment insurance extension up to 4 months additional, making sure that we protect people who can't pay their mortgages so that they don't get evicted, renters don't get evicted, protections for students with student loan debt who can't pay their student loans back right away. All of those were part of the Democratic negotiating points, and we were agreeing to them, and now they've taken all of that out and instead created a $500 billion slush fund that, by the way, Steve Mnuchin can actually write these checks out to large corporations and then on his own, without oversight from Congress, decide to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take away the requirement that you can't do stock buybacks. I'm going to take away the requirement that you can't have executives increasing their salaries. That's ridiculous. Our struggling workers need help now.
Okay, so it seems like you all are very far apart, and if this vote was scheduled somewhere in the 4 o'clock hour and it's been pushed back to 6 o'clock, does that lend the appearances that there is some agreement and that 2 hours allows for a better success rate of that vote?
Well, we were moving together in a bipartisan way up until 8 p.m. last night. I can say that. And something happened last night when Mitch McConnell pulled all of his negotiators away, and then they started writing their own bill. So if they delay this and we can come back to vote in a couple of hours, it would just mean that the Republicans have agreed to come back to the negotiation table and allow Democrats to have some input. Right now, it's a Mitch McConnell bill. Senate Democrats have had no input to this, and the entire House of Representatives has had no input to this. Essentially, Mitch McConnell has disenfranchised the voters of Illinois, my constituents, from having any part in this conversation when he did not allow Democrats at the table.
And quickly, what's your response to the governor of Illinois saying, you know, the whole issue of trying to get medical supplies? It's like the wild west right now, and also receiving criticism from the president for his comments.
Well, the person who needs criticism is this president, who should have ordered under the Defense Procurement Act all of these businesses to start producing all of the PPE, the gloves, the masks, all the swabs that we need. He's invoked his right to enact this act, but yet he's not yet given the orders to all of these defense industries to start producing this badly needed medical equipment. And so I agree with Governor Pritzker. It is a wild, wild west out there, and this president has been irresponsible from the very beginning, from the time when he said to the World Health Organization, you know what, we don't need those test kits that you're offering us. When he said to the president of China how great job he's doing early on. And now this president finds himself at a point where he's finally worried about this because of the economy and where we are on stock trading. He should have been worried about this when people couldn't get testing, and people still can't get testing. We need this equipment now. Let's start allowing these defense industries to make this stuff that we need for our first responders.
We'll leave it there for now. Thank you so much, U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth. Appreciate it.